support a learning collaborative. And let's say we said that collaborative might have within it affinity groups. So some of you might say, you know, I really want to get on that disease reversal bandwagon. I love that stuff. I think I can do that right away with my patients, and we'll have a group that's working on that. And we might have another group that's saying, that group visit thing, man, I think we could do that in our place, and we're going to work on that. And there may be another group that says that hope note. So I love what you said to me, Scott, after you read Wayne's book. You said on the phone call, I read the book, we're already doing the hope note. I mean, that's bang. We get a bunch of people who are doing hope notes with their patients. So there's a series of what I'm calling affinity groups where we can come together. We can set up, does anybody know about Project Echo? That's a lot of, I think, nodding. Okay, so we're an approved hub for Project Echo, so we can sponsor these. IHI with their Learning Collaborative, if they were to be the partner organization, might have methods, but we can create ways where people can work together. Now, also within here, that's kind of one level. Within this room are a bunch of people, many of whom I am personally invited to come here because I knew you were looking. Remember that innovator to early adopter? You told me once, somewhere along the line in a conversation, I'm looking, I don't like what we got now, I'm looking to change. And some of you are at health system levels. And some of you are at practice levels. And some of you independent practice or DPC practices. Some of you are in FQHCs. So we've got these different niche neighborhoods, let's call them. And we might structure that perhaps, what would this look like in direct primary care? And oh, by the way, the FMEC is one of the co-sponsors of the National Direct Primary Care Summit. Every year we drag AAFP in, we drag ACOFP in, and there's going to be another one next year. And I guarantee you, because I've already negotiated, the full Friday before that summit, there's going to be a big thing about all of this there for the direct primary care community to get involved with. We will find other places to do this because we're going to create a movement. So I'm just sort of throwing out some very general ideas for people to react to. We don't have enough time today. This half hour is intended just as a teaser, just like the stuff that preceded. Tomorrow afternoon we'll get a little more time to dive in. Reactions to what I just said. Or other ideas. Somebody may have a bright idea that we need to throw into the hopper.
I mean, I like the idea of the focused areas. I mean, immediately after Joe's talk, I went and book, guys, I'm downloading the book and I'm going to try to figure out how to do it at my place. And some was just like, why figure it out on my own when we could have that group that kind of collaborates and says, hey, here's the model we can all kind of implement. But so I do like that. One thing I was going to say is that one of the things that's nice about this meeting, and it's my first time back in a few years, but it is a safe place. So I don't think I see a single patient here, and I'm not sure I see a single hospital executive here. And I'll tell you that as we talk about a revolution, it is going to take influential patients to move forward to hear and say, God, Doc, I didn't realize you have to focus on this, the metrics piece. How do we help free you up? So I think that's one powerful piece as you grow your group. But in terms of the hospital executive piece too, there are a lot of really influential leaders who also have the moral conflict that we feel. They're helping to lead healthcare in a way that they're not necessarily happy about, and they're looking for solutions like ours. And having them here in the room to hear about direct primary care or some of the other models, I think would really, really help the church moving forward.
Just as, if I can, just a little segue. Wayne, do you want to tell them what happened when you were your Thursday?
Sorry, when?
Thursday, yesterday, what happened for you at Jamaica?
I gave a grand rounds at the Jamaica Health System in Queens, which I learned was probably the most diverse huge amount of enthusiasm. One of the largest crowds at single grand rounds that I've probably talked to in the last 2 years, and I've talked to probably 20 of them. They said, we're doing this, we've got to change this. We've got interactions with CMS, and we're going to approach them, see if they want to do it. We've already got an innovative board in some areas to do that. In the top 5%, we want to get to the next 95%. State of New York is, we think we can bring them to the table. And we have a health insurance company that takes 100% risk, full risk, for 150,000 lives. We're going to approach them about doing this because we think we can do that. So it's like, okay, there's a system. And there's a number of others actually. So I think we can do that. I don't know if that's what you were
Yes,
referring to,
exactly.
but,
So let me tell you though, the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey might have said, where that came from. So Alan Roth, who's the chair of family medicine there, who's also past board member from the FMEC, read your book, and he was on a conversation with Joe and Wayne and I, talking about this after he read the book, and the light bulb just went off for him, and he said, Larry, this has changed my life. That was after the phone call, being a part of that. And then he went to his CEO, and things just, and that's what happened. And there'll be a lot more to that story because you have a champion like Alan and Roth there. So I'm saying,
I learned the backstory of that,
Yeah.
which gets to the whole issue of where patients.
mhm,
He saw the book, he saw the term integrative health, he didn't know what it was. It was like, oh yeah, what is this? His wife read it. She said, you were gonna read this book. I'm serious, that's how it happened. He was not gonna read it, he was skeptic. He was like, I know I gotta do something different. I don't know what that stuff is over there. His wife read the book and said, you're gonna read this book. Okay, and that's what happened. I mean,
Right.
and I only tell that story because he told it to me. And in fact, from the public, from the patient, public provider, people that make most of the decisions in the country about healthcare are middle-aged women. Okay?
Right.
They're the one taking care of their kids, they're the one taking care of the elderly, they're the one taking care of their spouses. And so that group somehow has to be empowered and brought into this
Yes.
conversation. Not the only ones, obviously, but
Right.
they're at the core of this. That's I just an example. He was sort of,
and her name is Nellie, and she's wonderful.
she is.
Yeah.
I heard briefly she was a good.
Cool. Joe, then I'm gonna come forward.
As I listen to this terrific stuff, realizing that what we're really talking about is creating health. Because our medical care system now does a terrible job of creating health. It's doing a lot of stuff, a lot of high cost, but it's not creating health. And I think this movement, this isn't going to be a family medicine movement or even a primary care movement. Consumers are not interested in making a bunch of doctors more successful, but they are interested in having a damn healthcare system that really makes people, populations healthier. And I think that the whole revolution is about we need to radically change how we do what we do for the purpose of creating health. So whole health, that's really what this revolution is about.
Right.
So let's get health back into healthcare. I mean, the word healing is like a word that the residents can go through residency and never hear the word healing. It's not like it's relevant to their job. Their job is to manage diabetes and stuff. It's not about healing. So what Wayne is doing, he's bringing healing back to medicine, and the time is now to do that.
Just to piggyback on that, the word that I've heard a lot today that's encouraging is movement, a movement rather than a system. Like to design a system, to make a plan is restrictive, and I'm just encouraging there's a lot of creative thinkers here who are problem solvers, and a movement is something that, an individual, all the individuals here can take their unique skills and interests and, and be a part of it, rather than it being a static thing that you have to comply with.
Good point.
In a certain way. So I think that's encouraging.
Eleanor?
I think, when we started this morning, I started thinking, well, how can we have a national movement if we're not willing to engage on national topics in healthcare, like who's paying for it, you know, large payer systems? Why would we start a movement without being willing to address or be part of these, you know, maybe we should just, maybe this isn't the source of the movement. Maybe the movement should be, you know, fighting for, you know, changes in healthcare. Maybe we should be joining other movements. But what I see today as we come together is that different systems can provide the necessary pieces for this type of group to become the movement. So for instance, you know, I get to have a unique perspective because I both work for an academic health center and the VA and a direct, you know, I have my direct primary care practice. And I think, well, at the VA, you know, can do such a wonderful job at helping represent the patients. We may not have a lot of patients come to these rooms, but we can represent them through data. We have to have it, we have to have the data. And the VA, as a closed system, can help by providing data that with whole health, patients get better. The direct primary care movement, you know, can we show that when you have improved physician satisfaction, you have improved patient scores? It's going to be hard in the direct primary care movement. Everybody's so independent, you know, there's not a lot of place for us to come together. What could we provide in that movement? The academics, could we be showing that with improved curriculum that we train better family medicine doctors who take better care? You know, what could each piece of this puzzle provide to help create the necessary elements to be a movement that comes together nationally? You know, when I think about each system providing smaller pieces of data, it seems more feasible.
Scott? Yeah, you know, one thing that really strikes me, and it's kind of a response to what you said over there, one of the conversations I've been engaging in the last year with all these people who are buying healthcare is, I just say to them, where does healing come from? Like, where's healing come from? And some of them say doctors, and I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, not just no, but hell no. And what I mean by that is, I really believe that healing comes from, you know, inside of each of us. I've stood at the bed of a patient with AIDS and HIV. I've stood at the bedside of people who died, and there was nothing in the world that a doctor could ever do. And what I really view is that doctors get things out of the way. If you've got an infection, we help get rid of the infection so your body can heal itself. If you've got a tumor, we get rid of the tumor so the body can heal itself. And so I've been in this conversation with people, and part of the thing that's so amazing to me is when you look at the graph and you look at the morbidity and cost across the country, and you know that a lot of people that are living longer, their countries, the average life expectancy is longer than America, you're like, they're just not getting killed by healthcare, right? It's not that they've got great doctors healing them. And so it's ironic to me because about 4 or 5 months ago, I was having this conversation, and somebody said, oh, you're Wayne Jonas's disciple. And I was like, who? And they said, Wayne Jonas, healing comes from the inside out. I'm like, yes. And so then I went and bought his book and read it, and then I got invited to be part of this. And so I think one of the components of we don't bring healing to people. We don't bring, you know, healing is there. We just make sure that they don't get killed by the system, and we facilitate that being brought out for them, in my opinion, and that $3 will get you Starbucks. But I wonder if that shouldn't be part of our movement, is really refocusing the country on where healing actually comes from. And with the companies I work with, by the way, one last thing I just want to throw in for thoughts for tomorrow, is I talk about we are creating a yellow brick road for your employees and their families. And a yellow brick road is appropriate care. And one ditch is too much care, and the other ditch is not enough care. So we're trying to create plan benefit design to make sure they get enough care, but not too much care, and we're keeping them on the yellow brick road. And we create plan benefit design, so if you stay on the yellow brick road, we're trying to make it free to get care. But if you want to get off and be a cowboy in either ditch, then your premiums are going to go up because you need to fund what your care is going to cost later when you are crashed, when you have your crash. So just a couple quick thoughts for tomorrow.
One thought is from representing the innovation or the technology standpoint, I find when you look at the innovators in primary care, it's an empty space. There's nobody. And when you look at where venture capital is directed, it's almost never primary care, right? Because these guys are following the money and following the fast return. So there's a lot happening in pharma and biotech. And when you look at patients, there's a lot happening on the wearables, the Fitbits, and some wellness apps, but almost nothing for clinicians. And what it is for clinicians is definitely not for primary care. So I want to bring into the conversation, how can we create a space for people to innovate in primary care? And you get to transform the system, but it takes time, right? If you are improving care and you're going to take total risk for the total cost of care, you can't show returns in a year or 18 months because it's going to take longer. So how do we create a space for innovators and for investment to be able to support those things for primary care? I think is something that we need to keep in mind.
So, we're skating around. People are, number one, you're still here. You voted with your butts and your seats. So you're interested in something. Some of you could only be here today. Not to worry. The conversation will find you, and we will be bringing it to you. For those who can be there tomorrow, or encourage your colleagues to be there tomorrow, I hope you will do that. And I will just say this on behalf of the FMEC. This ain't gonna stop. If it's not you, it'll be somebody else, trust me. That last slide of mine, I mean it. We're not done till the work is done, and I will not look my grandchildren in their faces when they're adults, when they say to me, so Dad, Grandpa, why didn't you do something? You know, it's like going back to the civil rights movement and having your grandchildren saying, so where were you in the civil rights movement? Did you stand tall? Did you do whatever? I want to be able to look them in the eye, in my dotage, and say, here's what I did. And yeah, it was a hell of a problem, but you don't have to suffer from it. We got things manageable. So I'm serious about that. So we are done here for today. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of our speakers. This was awesome. When we first started planning this, we had no clue how this was going to fit together. But the pieces, I think, have come together. Thank you. And we've got 15 minutes, and then we're over in the big room.